This is a Podco original.
Were either of you in the pilot?
Yeah, I came right at the end. I didn't say anything.
You were at the end.
Yeah. And by the way, you wanted to kill me off in the first. Wasn't I dead in the books? Like, what number was I dead?
You were dead.
7?
No, you stayed around. You stayed around for a while. I wish I had made you a bigger character.
Thank you. So do I.
Yeah. Yes. And that is very much from the show.
Did you visualize the people who got the role as those people? Ever think, oh, this character doesn't match up with the character that I had in my head?
I remember when they sent headshots of the people that they cast for the 4 main. Well, maybe an Allison too. The way that I described them in the book was different. And at first I was kind of like, oh, huh.
Every time I think about hummus, I think about Pretty Little Liars. Everyone was always eating hummus.
Like, I that's kind of the reason I can't have hummus a lot. When people have hummus, it's...
And I used to fart
so
all the
much.
time from it because the hummus that they had wasn't like the expensive hummus. It was one with like tons of additives and citric acid.
Sabra?
Yes!
Thinking of that case with the 4 college students who were stabbed by... he was in the field of study of forensics, right?
Had just gotten into a PhD program in criminology, which is different than forensics. So they study criminal behavior. And many people have put forth the idea that this individual may have thought that he could get away with it. But here's the thing, and I think that if there's an Achilles heel for that individual in this particular case, it has to do with the fact that you can study the criminal mind and how criminals behave. That doesn't mean that you're an expert when it comes to physical evidence.
Yay!
Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, Tammin.
Pretty Little Liars podcast.
Pretty Little Liars podcast.
What are you
is
wearing
back
today?
I'm wearing a Playboy shirt that I got on sale from a Revolve. We have the coolest episode today.
I'm so excited.
We have the basic creator of the universe.
She's the reason Pretty Little Liars and Pretty Little Liars podcast is in existence.
Exists.
Yeah, it's because of her.
We have Sara Shepherd. Yay! Now you.
Hello.
Hi. Where are you at today?
I am in Pennsylvania.
You
I am so sad not to be with you.
I know.
I know. We so wish
So
you could
sad.
be here. So you actually live in Pennsylvania,
I do.
where
I do.
Pretty Little Liars is set.
Yes. And it is true that the books, a lot of the setting is a lot of kind of what I saw growing up. Very, very true.
Yeah.
Creepy woods, cornfields,
And also,
Wawa.
Mm-hmm.
because they all, I don't know if you noticed this, but everyone wears darker clothes. So is it kind of a little, dark in Pennsylvania? Or is it, is the summer as sunshiny as it is over in California? Or is there a little bit more of a mystery over there?
It's more mysterious, I would say. I mean, you get to LA and it's kind of like, there was one time that I went to LA and it was raining and I was not happy.
Yeah.
Because I can get that here.
Right,
it's
right.
pretty, it can be pretty gray here. Definitely moodier. I mean, not as moody as like some places, but
Right.
So born and raised?
yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay, so why did you want to be a writer?
So when I was a kid, I was always writing stories and mostly at first I was just trying to entertain my sister. She was younger and I wrote stories about her. She had like a security blanket named BB. We just made up all these characters and I was always just writing and drawing. Other people were going outside and I was always just the one inside, making up weird magazines for people. And I don't know. I have a stack of journals that I kept and, which really helped me actually when Pretty Little Liars came around. Cause then I could look at my teenage thoughts and see what I was thinking. But, I always knew I would write. I never thought I would actually be published because being published is hard. It's hard to, get a book deal.
You said that you never thought that you'd be published, but does that mean you were writing books and novels without even a book deal?
Or I'd be writing in journals. I don't know. I would be doing something. But yes, before I had a book deal, I was definitely writing stories in spare time at this job that I had that I didn't like. So when I was not working, or I was supposed to probably be working, I would be instead working on stories. Maybe with some of the characters in it. I don't remember. I mean, there might have been like little tiny kernels of some of the PLL characters in those really early stories. It's quite possible.
I mean, without the books, there obviously is no show. So how does that even come to be? So can you take us back to, do you get a book deal, write the series, then Marlene calls you out of nowhere and options the like, how does that even work?
So it was crazy. So first of all, like getting the Pretty Little Liars book deal completely changed my life because, it was the same job that I didn't like. And I lived in New York City and not making very much money. And all of a sudden, I came up with this Pretty Little Liars idea and the publisher bought 4 books. So suddenly I could quit my job. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to quit my job because I have to write all these books. I wrote the books, and I remember that first summer that I got the book deal, I found out that the series had been optioned, but it had been, this is how long ago this was. It had been optioned by the WB. Yeah. Back in the day. So it was optioned by the WB. And I was like, man, this was like 2005.
Also, to anybody who is wondering what the WB is, that's the CW,
yeah, right?
kids. CW before it merged with what?
Warner Brothers.
But the WB merged with to become the CW. Anyway, I don't remember.
Like Dawson's Creek was on it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And then it merged with somebody to become the CW.
It was good teen television.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, oh my God, this is going to be on TV. Well, a long time, as we know, passed before anything happened. And I think there were a few screenwriters who took a crack at trying to make it into a show. I think there were at least 2. Sometimes they aged the characters up. Sometimes they said it somewhere. I can't remember. But by the time I got a call that Marlene had written a screenplay, or the pilot, and ABC Family took it over and they really liked it, it's not that I didn't care about the TV thing. I just was kind of like, this is way harder than I thought it was. And
right.
It's not going to be a show, and that's fine. So it was a little bit out of the blue that I got a call saying, oh, they're going to make a pilot. Because I was like, wait, I haven't even read a pilot. Wait, there's another pilot? How many pilots are there going to be? Nice. And I had heard that the other pilots weren't so great. So I was like, oh God, what is this going to be? And I was still writing the series. So, and I had probably written 7 books in the series at that point. It was totally out of the blue when I got the call that the pilot was going to be made, and then suddenly the pilot was made, and then it was just sort of like it all happened really fast from there.
Wow.
Were either of you in the pilot?
Yeah, I came right at the end. I didn't say anything.
You were at the end.
Yeah. And by the way, you wanted to kill me off in the first. Wasn't I dead in the books? Like, what number was I dead?
You were dead.
7?
No, you stayed around. You stayed around for a while. I wish I had made you a bigger character.
Thank you. So do I.
Yeah. Yes. And that is very much from the show. I wish I had made Toby a bigger character too. I wish I had made Paige a character at all.
I was waiting.
Paige is not a character.
Yes, Paige was not originally in the books, which kind of... So how much creative license did they take? Give me your reaction to seeing the pilot.
I was so happy. I mean, it was like, oh my, I just kept saying, oh my God, because not only like, you as a writer, you're in your little room and you're alone and you're like, you have these characters in your head and you're like, they have qualities that you used to have growing up or friends of yours, and you never think it's going to be anything. And suddenly there they were on the screen, and it was like playing out like the first book did, and some of the lines were even used, and it was so I know I got very lucky as the author, because I know this doesn't happen a lot. I know books are adapted and sometimes authors are not happy with how they're adapted, but I mean, it was just amazing. It was just like, I could not believe it. How great it was and how like satisfying it felt. And it felt like, yeah, this is what I would want this show to be from this book series. I think they go together so well.
Did you visualize the people who got the role as those people? Did you ever think, oh, this character doesn't match up with the character that I had in my head? Because for me, when I read, I get very frustrated when I see someone cast in a TV show or a film and it was just not what I envisioned. Was there any characters that, and not in a negative way, but you're like, I didn't think that Hannah was going to be that.
I remember when they sent headshots of the people that they cast for the 4 main, well, maybe an Allison too, the main people in the pilot. And the way that I described them in the book was different. And at first I was kind of like, but they really acted, it more mattered to me sort of how their body language and sort of like what they brought to that character. And I got over that pretty fast. I mean, there were definitely, I'm trying to think of really anybody that stuck out where I just thought, oh God, that is not how I imagined that person.
There has to be one. Give us
There's,
the goss.
the girl, and she was so sweet because I met her when I was there. The girl who played Maya. And then I feel like Chad Lowe, who was so sweet, but that is not how I imagined Arya's dad. But as far as the main characters, like, yeah, they, like Emily, for instance. Emily did not look like the Emily from the books, but and I remember people were sort of mad about that. They were like, but I have this picture of Emily in my head, but it didn't really matter because she was just such a good Emily. Mm-hmm. She just like really, it's weird because now when I think about the characters, like if I were to go back and write another book of them in high school, I would be a little bit confused because like I always had this picture of them when I was writing them, but now that I've watched the show more, and I've probably watched the show more recently than I've written about them, I would almost imagine them as like the show characters. So
wow,
yeah, it's weird.
Whoa,
it is cool.
I mean, I have so many more like personal questions for you. I feel like we should touch on the recap of episode 6.
Yep.
There's no place like homecoming. We love that wordplay.
By the way, don't you think, can we just say, Lindsay, isn't it really annoying for actors when because you wait for like literally 19 hours and then it's like your scene and you're on for like 20 minutes and then you're back sitting down again. They are the most laborious.
Barely 20 minutes.
Oh, barely.
Like from the time you leave your trailer to the time you're done, that's 20 minutes.
And the whole time you're just waiting for your like line, and then when you actually shoot your line, you get one take because normally they're rushing to get through those big scenes,
and they're trying to get everybody's coverage plus the wide shots plus the establishing whatever plus inserts whatever.
I know
they're like the acting can hurry up.
Yeah, be emotional now.
Is this like a dance? Are you saying like a school dance kind of situation?
Yes,
there's
or like a big.
Yeah. So when they do big scenes like a dance or a homecoming or a party scene or a wedding or a funeral.
Anybody leave, even if your side is wrapped, because we might see you in the background of a shot we might get in 2 hours. Oh my
God.
Yeah. So when you write that stuff, just know it's hell for us.
Dinners. Oh my gosh.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But talk about, you said you were in some episodes?
Yeah, I was in episode 7. I was in the next episode, the homecoming hangover. So what we learn in episode 6, Arya hooks up with Ezra, in episode 5?
They're hooking up. They hook up from the pilot.
I should remember, but maybe it's earlier than that. But anyway, she comes to see him in episode 7. She goes to his class and has like a question for him. And instead of Ezra Fitz writing on the board, it's Ms. Shepherd. I'm writing on the board. And I basically just say, I don't know where Mr. Fitz is. That's my big role.
Oh, I saw you.
Oh, I love it. And was that like a dream of yours? How did that come about?
Oh my God. I don't know how it came about. I think I like jokingly, I don't even know. I was like, you should put me on the show. No, it was not a dream. I never had aspirations of being on a show. And I remember like, I was like, I can't believe they made a role for me. And, cause I'd never done anything like that before. And I was so nervous. Like I think I had way more lines than they ended up using, but I probably delivered them so terribly that they got rid of
I'm sure not.
Please release those. I want to see all of the things.
I know. Yeah. I wish I could remember them. I like quoted some famous author. I can't even remember. I mean, it was very embarrassing. I had to go through the lines many times to get them right.
I mean, yeah, it's see, like once you get up there though, it's the energy of that whole camera and crew and lights like staring down at you that you're like, oh, this is a little different.
Yeah.
Like, what's my line? What's my line?
A lot of adrenaline.
Yeah. Like almost a debilitating amount of adrenaline until did you ever get like a little bit comfortable like on the wide shots or when they were doing it? Did it become fun on one of the takes?
I think when the cameras were not on me, I was much better.
Turned around. Yeah.
I'm always great on someone else's coverage.
Yep. Wow.
I always find my emotional stuff, like, do you give emotional, on someone else's coverage,
Yes.
do you give them emotional
Yes.
stuff? Okay.
Yes, because I'm almost like, I just believe in that whole thing of like, I want to help
Giving
them
as an
be
actor.
as well as good as they can. I'm all about that sharing relationship. You're the only life raft I have in the middle of a scene. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But sometimes when people don't do it for you, it makes me frustrated.
It's infuriating.
It's infuriating.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Let's recap the homecoming.
Okay, so there's no place like homecoming. There's a joke in the beginning about Samantha Ronson. Do we all remember who Samantha Ronson was?
Yes, she was dating Nicole
Lindsay
Richie.
Lohan.
Okay.
Lindsay Lohan. Yeah.
You're just like,
I had to
Nicole Richie.
I had to look it up too.
She was a DJ.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And what was the line again?
Okay, so you remember how the episode before Hannah gets the photo strip of M and Maya, and then Emily's like, I'm gonna go stag, but there's somebody that I might want to go with, and she goes, oh, from going stag to now I'm Samantha Ronson.
Oh my God, that was such a 2010
It was
reference
line.
That was so silly.
That was so silly. Then there was another reference in that episode.
But here's the thing. I actually thought that she was talking that she wanted to go with Toby. Like I thought she was talking about Toby from the beginning. She went with Toby, but she was talking about Maya.
Too.
Yeah.
But apparently she was talking about Maya. That's what I got.
I think
I love the friendship that they're setting up between them.
I do too.
And I love that scene where he's like, did you come to homecoming with the wrong person?
Yeah. And
stunning.
But then there's this one line in, and it says, we should get a cab to homecoming. And I thought, a cab? That's because we had no Uber. Do you remember? I was like, I was actually sitting there listening. I was like, did they just say cab? A cab to homecoming?
Let's call a cab.
Let's call a cab. A big old
cab service.
This is the East Coast.
Let's call a cab.
So then we get there's this great bit with how A somehow is getting to them, not just through their phones, which they've unblocked at this point.
Yep.
But through all these different means around the town. Like she fills these fortune cookies that they all get.
Oh, that's right.
Lions and tigers and bitches. Oh my, there's no place like homecoming. See you there.
Yeah, see you there. Here's the thing. If this was happening in my life, okay, and Sarah, you have to also, you wrote this. Did you write it like they were kind of petrified and scared all the time? Because I would not be able to leave my fucking house. Like, if someone was stalking me, I'd be like, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. Like, I would have a revolver with me at all times. I would have they're kind of like, oh, they open up the fortune cookie and they're like, hey, ugh.
Right?
I'm like, they're literally saying you're about to be killed. And they're just like, again?
I couldn't believe, they were like, they got the message and they just all sort of smiled at each other. Or like, didn't smile, but they just looked mildly afraid.
Mildly afraid.
Like, what? I'm very surprised that I would be absolutely like, who the hell how did this even happen? Who is watching me? Like,
I would constantly have tears in my eyes.
I feel like in the books they were more scared, but maybe not. Like, I don't know.
What I did think was a cool turning point, and I can't remember if it was this episode, the one where they were trudging to the shed and then away from the shed in the same thing, that might have been 5, but how they hear the rustling and instead of being scared like they were in the beginning of the episode, now they're all dropping their stuff and running towards the sound. So that for me was a big break in
they're not going to be scared
how
of
they
the murder.
handled things. Yeah. But before that, they were still mildly afraid.
And also, if you're doing this, and I know this was only 6 episodes in, but obviously there was 150 episodes. As an actor, how over it are you to act scared when you get a text message or a phone call or whatever from A? You'd kind of just be over it at that point. That you'd just be like, A.
I can't worry anymore, man.
You'd just be like, it's from A again. Shit. Like, wouldn't you just be like, again?
Yeah. No, they
In that voice.
Yeah. Again.
And there are a lot of A notes in each episode, right?
Right. At least.
Yeah.
At least
I mean,
4.
I feel like in the books there were fewer A notes, but yeah, I mean, you have to think as the writers of those episodes, they got to keep A keeps putting on the pressure. It's
Right.
a lot of A.
Yeah. A lot of A.
A lot of A.
A lot of T and A.
There wasn't really.
There wasn't any.
It was no T or A.
My other favorite line. So my favorite storyline of this whole thing was obviously Toby and Emily going together. But then Maya has this beautiful line at the end. And I'm giving you space to come to grips with who you are, not to hide it. Telling Emily sort of, I've been giving you space for you to discover who you are. Not be out here with Toby. What you doing, girl?
Yeah. I thought watching it back now and how far we've come, just like life and the narrative of what is acceptable, I feel like it's a moot point. Like when you watch it back, you're like, oh, you're gay. Okay. like
But
I know that back then it was a
Right.
big deal. And also
Right.
they're so young, and obviously coming out and sexuality is such a huge thing to kind of figure out when you're that age.
I
Like,
think that's
okay.
how entertainment sort of progresses on its own. Like I even feel that way when I see a flip phone. Like, what was Arya's phone the whole time? She had some sort of panda bear head, like plastic, and then she would push it up. And then what is this messenger service? Tin? What? What is this? They had this weird MySpace app that just had each of their
MySpace.
contact
Oh my
photos from the
God.
phone. Just
I know.
it was the weirdest.
Everything was
But-
like flip. Yeah. But the one trend that we don't see often is making out with your brother. That's not something that we talk about a lot.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so Jenna, I have to keep, because I go to these events and everyone's like, I can't believe you made out with your brother. I'm like, firstly, I'm not the character. And B, like, a slim pickings. I mean, I can't see. Like, maybe I just didn't. Maybe I didn't see it was him. Maybe I was just like, oh, whatever. But I wasn't really related to him. It was like when my cousins dated. I did have I had cousins who dated that were not any blood related. So my mom was married before, my dad was married before, my cousins dated for a second. Lindsay's face. But it's kind of like that, isn't
I
it?
totally understand familial attraction.
No, but they weren't blood related. So is it really such a big deal?
It was who you choose.
So in the books, they had like Sarah, right? They had this thing going on, right? So, or was it not?
I don't remember. That's what's so funny. This is terrible that I don't remember.
You're like, I don't remember what
But I want to say that they didn't. Now somebody will write and correct us, but I feel like that was an invention of the show.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was like, whoa.
The brother sister thing was
Yeah.
They took that much.
That was a lot of liberty.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, or where is it? I wish I had a copy somewhere. I don't know where it is. Because Toby, unfortunately, was only in one book. He didn't last long at all.
Wow. So what happened to him in the book? Did he die?
Yeah, he died at the end of book 2.
How?
Poor Toby.
Jenna
totally should
suffocated
catch
him.
around.
Can I also ask, what was it like for your introduction onto social media and to the public's feedback?
I already had a social media audience before the show came out. So I had MySpace.
Right.
And
a flip phone.
there were actually Pretty Little Liars fans on MySpace, and like quite a few of them. And like we had our little, I don't know. I must have chatted with a lot of them. I can't remember. And everybody was very nice. But then when the show came out, like there wasn't a lot directed at me. There was not a lot of like anger or how dare you create a character where, a situation where the girl is dating the teacher or like, why would you write about, lesbians, or why would you no, or just what kind of sick things happened to you when you were growing up? I mean, no, not.
Did you date your brother?
Yeah, I'm like, did I put that in that book?
You really have to tell us. I need to know this. This is my entire storyline.
But yeah, I mean, the thing that was fun about social media was that, so I watched the show, on Tuesdays. I often didn't know what was going to happen. And I had to live tweet it because this was back in the day when you couldn't just watch something in your own time. You had to wait.
Yeah.
For Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And somehow I think I started doing it for the first episode, and then I was like, well, I guess I should keep doing it because that went well. Because then, that was when Twitter was really taking off. So until the last episode of the very last season, I live tweeted all of those shows.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I think we all did.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Because remember, then they started having in one of the Warner Brothers, or no, it was like a freeform office or something where they had live tweet.
Yeah, the
rooms.
offices. Mm-hmm.
We would all go there.
Where you would go in and you would, on the night that it was airing, there would be a couple of, people in that room where we would watch the show and react. And it's so funny.
It's like the nuclear launch centers. We were all alone just on the computer.
No one was talking to each other.
Really strange.
It wasn't a communal watch party, really, because you were just just doing your own thing.
And you're just looking for your own scene, and you're just looking for your own scene, going, oh yeah, that was good, or oh, that was crap, and did everyone just see that? And you're just like, oh, that was a bad scene, and she's sitting right next to me.
And then how would you tweet to say that you were proud of yourself, but also did you see me play that scene?
Did you see how amazing I was? Those tweet parties were always so weird, and they always had fruit. They
hummus? Cleared those goddamn
They had
fruit.
hummus, carrots, and fruit. Always. Every time I think about hummus, I think about Pretty Little Liars. Everyone was always eating hummus.
That's kind of the reason I can't have hummus a lot. When people have hummus, it's.
And I used to fart all the time from it because the hummus that they had wasn't the expensive hummus. It was the one with tons of additives and citric acid.
Sabra?
Yes! It was that brand Sabra, and when you eat it, honestly, you have to fart for 12 hours. It is so bad. It's got so many preservatives in it, and the whole time I'm like, great, now I'm doing a scene with Toby, and I have to kiss him, and he's my brother, and I need to fart. It was a whole.
How bad was it when you had gas? Gas on set.
Gas on set was
the worst. Because you're usually mic'd up. Your stomach hurts so fucking bad.
And you can't fart.
You can't
when you're walking on the street, you can just be like, no one's here. Sure.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And even in your yoga, you can just be like, who was that? You know?
But when you crop dust somebody on set, especially if you know it's going to linger.
And also, how many times did you drop that mic pack in the toilet?
Oh, okay. First of all, I never did that.
Wait, what?
I never did that.
Wait, what?
I just remember taking the gnarliest craps on that set.
They're just
ever.
Tammin, your mic pack doesn't work. I'm like, I don't know how. I think I've killed probably 4 mic packs. So mic packs, for those people who don't know, you're mic'd up. They're probably $10,000 a mic pack. I'm not kidding. And they strap it to the back of your jeans. And the problem is, most of the time when you're gonna pee, you don't think that there's a mic pack on you. So you just open your fly, you go and pee, and you hear plop. And it's your mic pack, which literally, you're fucked. That is $3,000 in the drain. And then they'll be like, Tammin, your mic pack doesn't work. And I'll be like, oh no, I don't know.
What? That is super strange. You guys have an extra, right?
I'd be like, I don't know. I was like, maybe you should change the batteries. And they're like, the batteries are wet. I'm like,
what? Bad batteries. Oh man. Okay, so what are the other parts of this episode that we love? What was your favorite storyline here?
I think that the best part of it was the Emily storyline with Toby. And on a selfish note, I liked that Jenna was, because up until the 6th episode, I kind of was just a prop. And then by the 6th episode, I was able to have a little bit more meat and potatoes. And the fact that I was the one who was really pushing Toby to be with me, which I still find very strange that everyone was so afraid of me. I couldn't see how afraid Do you know what I mean? Like, what am I really gonna do? And I don't know if it was the same in the books. Was I this ominous character that everyone was so afraid of? Or was I kind of just, I was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I
'Cause you
like that
were
storyline.
silent and mysterious.
And nobody
And
knew like
you
what you
were
knew
wronged.
fully. You know what I mean?
Things had happened to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to always inject.
Is this the scene where you are with him outside in the little corridor and you say, "Why are you doing this to me?" or "Why are you doing this?"
Why would you do this?
It's such a creepy, cool vibe.
Yeah. And then
it.
Hannah finds out in the notes of the therapist that the problem was me, right? Pushing like onto me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we find out in Homecoming, which was really nice because again, you know, when you're in it, I just felt like, what am I just a prop to propel the story? But I think at that point, I felt like I was like a real character.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I liked in the Homecoming.
Yeah.
It's really about me.
I mean,
the best thing about the episode was me. Just kidding.
Their prom dresses and hair. Tori's hair in this episode.
Something about Mary.
Oh my God, I have to look at it.
Babe, please Google it. Tori DeVito Homecoming episode, season 1, episode 6.
Okay.
It was so big.
Oh no.
It was so high. I don't know who said yes to that. Was it meant to look good?
Oh my God.
She is the most stunning girl.
Not at Homecoming episode. She's so beautiful. Why is her hair that big?
Looks like Gina Turner, dude. It's so teased. She looks like she walked out of 1979.
Abrasive.
Like even before the 80s.
It's very, very, very abrasive.
Still not as bad as what they did to me.
No, but that was bad. Yes, that was something that
some of the choices are
interesting.
That I question sometimes more than what people looked like. Some of the hair choices.
I was just
kind of like,
what
is happening?
I have to ask this
Their
question.
dresses were cute though.
They were cute.
Yeah.
Did you ever take clothes home?
From every set I've ever been on, I've stolen the socks, underwear, and bras.
No, the hoodies?
We'd get away with that stuff. I was already stealing like a large number of things. Those are expensive. They got the good shit, you know?
They do. But Sarah, I have to ask you this. When the show got really successful, did you make a butt ton of money? Or was it kind of just like it was what it was when you first sold the show? Like, do you get more money do you get
residual?
Yeah, like is there a part of is your part in it still lucrative as the show gets more successful?
Yeah, no, there have been like residual payments that were like a total surprise, and it's basically because people are still watching the show, which is amazing to me.
Yeah.
And you know, this show came out like 14 years ago. It's like
insane. Wow.
You know, still, so it's good. But yeah, I mean, watching the show again, like watching this a little bit of episode 6, like it was a really, really fun show.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like I was sad that I didn't get the whole way through. I just didn't have time. I'm gonna have to just start from the beginning.
Yeah,
that's what I just
again, and I guess that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I've never watched it, and I'm just thoroughly enjoying myself.
You've never watched it?
No,
I watched around the episodes that I was in.
Yep,
and this and that, but from the beginning, I mean, I didn't come in until like later in the first season.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of those actors who's super good at like, ooh, let me prep and make myself available. I'm kind of just like, I'm a live wire, whatever happens all the day.
We'll see.
But question, did you have any thoughts about the Paige character coming in? Did you like that turn?
Yeah, I did. Because I can't remember who Emily was with before.
I think it was
Paige
Maya.
came in.
Maya?
Yeah.
Maya.
Was it Maya?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't think Maya was right from her. I always liked Paige. Yeah. And I mean, I know a lot of people always liked Emily and Allison together, but I never saw that. I mean, I know people are going to get mad about that, but Allison was she was not a nice person. So there was nothing redeeming about her. That Emily like pined for her, but she needed like a page. She needed like a person that was not Allison in her life.
When you have a success like this, does it make you fearful about what's next? Do you ever get scared of peaking?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, what is very frustrating is that I will write other things, and I'm constantly followed with the like, oh, this is the writer of Pretty Little Liars. And I'm like, well, yeah, I did that, but like, I can do other things.
Yeah.
But they won't let you really.
Pretty Little Liars was such a iconic thing that was like a specific vibe, and if you try to write something that's a little bit outside that vibe, it's kind of like, well, you're a YA writer, you're a Pretty Little Liars writer, like. You stay in that lane. Like, I don't know.
Right.
And there is part of me that is kind of like, well, maybe Pretty Little Liars was the best thing that I did. But I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep writing. And I mean, I'm still writing books and stuff like that. But I have not written a series nearly as, long, because there were a lot of books in that series, or nearly as successful. But, in some ways it's okay. Like, in some ways I'd love to have like the next Pretty Little Liars, but in some ways I'm also just enjoying that there was even one.
Yeah.
So, but it's hard. I mean, and that's a good question. It's hard. It's hard being a writer. It's hard. You want success, but then immediately when you get it, it kind of scares you, because then it's kind of like, well, how do I live up to this? Like, how do I
keep going?
Continue on this trajectory? And yeah.
Wow. Well, this interview always over far too soon.
And always unhinged.
You are absolutely lovely, and congratulations on such a monumental accomplishment that continues to touch so many people and continues to bring people together. And there are still so many lovely stories and connection being shared. And like, I mean, Pretty Little Liars was a huge, wonderful thing you've done. It doesn't have to be at the peak or summit of something else. You know what I mean? Like in the eyes of other people and whatever, but in my own mind, having a career where I do feel like, it's a little bit in the past or whatever, like, I'm just so much more happy now, fulfilling me and doing me and not worrying so much about that outside thing. I've realized, like, holy crap, life is about that personal fulfillment. So I hope that you're feeling that, like, whatever you put out and make, in the future.
And can you give us a tiny little taste hint of what is the next writing?
Well, I just had a book come out. It's called Nowhere Like Home. It is an adult thriller, and it's kind of about, it's sort of Pretty Little Liars for adults a little bit. I mean, it's a lot about friendship. It's a lot about secrets, but it's about these moms who are living on their own without men out in this community in the desert.
Wow.
And things go very wrong. I mean, I had my best friend and I used to sort of talk about like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we just like took our kids and just went to live somewhere, like we would just be friends, and like our husbands, they could just go to whatever. So it's kind of like that. But then things go very wrong, and like people know things about each other that they're not supposed to know, and and you're in this desolate place and whatever. But it was really fun to write. There's definitely some A elements.
I love that.
I love writing about friendship. So
let's make it even to a TV show
in February. So you can find it wherever, on Amazon and in stores, whatever.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
We appreciate you.
Please don't be a stranger. I will continue to direct message you all the time like I do.
Also, don't talk to strangers. I think you know that pretty well.
Don't talk to Tammin.
100%.
On direct message.
No.
Good.
Strangers are watching.
Always.
And I can't wait to read your next book. It's on my good read list.
I'm gonna check it out too. It's so nice to meet you. I hope I get to meet you in person at some point.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And Lindsay, let's get to Joseph and ask him about Melissa's hair.
You mean Joseph Scott Morgan?
Ask him about Melissa's
You
hair.
think that case is solved yet?
Her hair
Joseph
looked like-
Scott Morgan needs to investigate the death of Melissa's hair.
Yes. Where did it go?
On to Joseph.
Yeah.
Hey,
Welcome,
what do you
Joseph
say?
Scott Morgan. Thank you so much for coming back on Pretty Little Podcast. Our favorite former death investigator, forensic scientist.
I got the Pretty Little Liar thing working for me here, the PLL, as they say. So I'm ready to rock and roll, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Have you ever
You're an
lied?
honorary liar.
Have you ever lied, Joseph?
Of course not.
Yeah.
I
You've
chopped down
never
the cherry tree,
lied?
too, so there you go. Yeah, we were next door neighbors, me and George Washington. That's how far back I go. But yeah, I've been known to
nice.
be a prevaricator, I guess, over a period of time. So
Lie.
I am an embellisher. Yes, I am.
Are you an
So there
embellisher?
Ooh.
He's got his rhinestone and glue gun ready to go. Like,
I've never. I don't know. I don't know how you're a human.
Do you believe that?
Polygrapher, I guess. So you can act as your own polygraph machine. People that say that, I don't believe it. They talk about body language and all that.
They say it doesn't work.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Whenever people turn away from me
Right.
and walk away, I figure the conversation is over with. So that's about all the body language I can interpret.
Are you a good liar, Lindsay?
Am I? No.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I would start
Really?
sweating profusely.
But you could just be like, it's the hormones.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Because I'm so honest and like that wouldn't, like,
Yeah.
I'm just literally going to tell you, here's my plight. Like, I'm not going to like
But
know
we
how to
never
get out of
asked
it.
for it.
Yeah, and I sweat. I say I'm honest to my own detriment. Like,
Right.
it would actually behoove me to go a little more dainty on some of my revelations. And I'm
I'm a
learning that
great
as I
liar.
grow. You know,
I'm a great liar.
you are.
I'd be a great liar.
How many times have you lied to me today?
This whole show is a lie.
Oh,
kidding.
no.
Wow, she's
No,
like,
the veil
she's
has
like,
been rent in two.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. It just was a long one.
This is a huge long con. You're great at this.
Yeah, you're great at this.
Oh.
I think I'm a good liar. I don't lie in a detrimental way that's really gonna affect, but like getting on the plane here, I told the woman I had a knee operation and I limped a
That's
bit.
it. I'm calling the airlines right now.
Not the limp.
I'm calling the airlines.
Yeah, and it was only because I'm such a fearful flyer and I really didn't want a middle seat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I don't dig
You're
on the
the
middle
only
seats,
body
man.
type equipped for a middle seat.
what? I didn't want a middle seat, and because I can't freak out with two people on either side of me. Like, I can freak out near a window or I can freak out near an aisle, but I can't do it in the middle seat.
Right.
And to be honest, I'm doing them a favor.
Right.
So I limped to her, and I said, I recently had a knee operation. Do you think I could have an aisle or a window? And she said, sorry, or like everything's been assigned. And then I just walked straight back because I forgot that I was injured. Do you know what I mean?
Dude, I would never have the lips to do that.
Yeah. She was just like, bitch, sit down. I know that knee operation is either healed or fake. But I do that a little. I do that a lot.
I just
because
would. I would just always think you can see right through me.
I do that a lot because I grew up as a child actor. And I do believe that there is a level of, and I've worked through this in therapy, a level of, I always ask my therapist, I'm like, am I narcissistic? She's like, no, you're just entitled. That's really different. Being entitled when you're young and you get everything given to you. And I had to learn as I get older that there are rules, except if you want an aisle seat. And then you can limp your way
dance for your supper,
to
man. That's all I can say.
the
Sometimes
exit.
you got to go to those places you don't want to go to. But yeah, yeah. And I'll listen. I hate flying. I absolutely hate it, and I've had to do a lot more of it lately than I've ever cared to. But yeah, I always try to get the emergency row. That's what and I always tell them, I'm capable of handling any kind of emergency that comes up, particularly if it means that I'm not going to be cramped. So, on the aisle, in the emergency row, I'm good to go, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this episode was really about homecoming. And so are there any like standout cases to you that have involved something nefarious between students, or like those, you know what I mean? Or like those crimes where it's like in a setting of teenagers? And
well, it's important, Lindsay, you said teenagers, and everybody can identify with being a teenager, and kind of your brain is in such a state all of the time, and you're hypersensitive about everything. Nerves are always raw. You're thinking people are judging you, people are watching you, and if you get the right combination, it can end up in disaster. And I've had any number of cases that have ended like this, stuff that I've personally worked, stuff that I've covered just over the past few years. I mean, I can recall things just right now that come to mind where, I had a young man, I think it was down in Florida. He had met this young girl that he was going to high school with. I think she was a freshman, and she was absolutely gorgeous. He convinces her to go for a walk, and he takes her out in the woods, and he stabs her over 100 times. And he just wanted to see what it felt like to kill somebody. And he rolled over on it eventually and admitted to it. And, you think about that, where, from whence does a creature like that arise? Well, many times it arises, in the form of teens, because that frontal lobe is not fully developed. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying that's the recipe for disaster. And if you've got somebody, a teenager, that they don't necessarily have all the appropriate controls around them, lots of times they're just kind of allowed to run buck wild, if you will. It can be really, really dangerous. And so, in the context of the episode that we're referring to, I think that's one of the biggest problems that you can have when it comes to teenagers, high schoolers that will go head to head. You have fights that get out of hand in schools many times, and they don't have an off button. They don't have a quit button many times. They just keep swinging, or they keep kicking, or they're trying to exact their, if you will, their pound of flesh. And they don't know where boundaries are many times. And it can get really, really over the top very, very quickly.
Sorry, I'm thinking of that case with the 4 college students who were stabbed by, he was in the field of study of forensics, right?
Had just gotten into a PhD program in criminology, which is different than forensics. So they study criminal behavior. And many people have put forth the idea that this individual may have thought that he could get away with it. But here's the thing, and I think that if there's an Achilles heel for that individual in this particular case, it has to do with the fact that you can study the criminal mind and how criminals behave. That doesn't mean that you're an expert when it comes to physical evidence, and it doesn't mean that you understand anything about forensics as they are applied, because there's always something that you miss, isn't there? And we can identify with that in our daily life. Think about all the routines that we go through day in and day out. You forget your car keys, you forget your phone, you forget this and that, or you didn't make a phone call, or you didn't text, or whatever. There's always some little area you're going to trip up. How much more so in a case that's so complex, where we have 4 college students that have all literally been just absolutely butchered. Is there something you forgot? Is there something that you did? And one of the big things that's come forward in that particular case, and this applies to DNA, is that he forgot the knife sheath. He left behind a knife sheath, and it's got DNA on it, touch DNA more than likely on the button snap. And so the devil is always in the details.
The sheath? That
So much about knives.
It's what it's kept in, like on your belt.
It was
He
left
left that
behind.
behind
Whether or
by
not it was accident or not, it was there, and it was adjacent to the body of one of the young ladies. It was immediately adjacent to her leg. Yeah, and well,
that's
in
how
a
they found
roundabout
him?
way,
Like,
there are other
that's how they were
circumstantial
able to
evidences that the police
put
think
him-
tie him back, and it has to do with electronic data from phones. It also has to do with CCTV, where what was kind of interesting is that in that particular case, they created like a 20-mile radius circle of all the roads And they went to all of the convenience stores and anybody else that might have had CCTV that was where the camera was pointing at the roadway. That's where they got the idea that they were looking for this 2-door white coupe, I think a Hyundai, that's riding around. And because it was traveling very fast. And then they have a phone pinging around the immediate area adjacent to where these college students were living. And, the accused did not live in the town. He was actually going to school just across the state line. For folks that don't know, the town where University of Idaho is Moscow, Idaho. It's 8 miles from Pullman, Washington, which is immediately across the state line. And there's, you have to cross the state line to go back and forth. He was going to school at the University of Washington. I'm sorry, Washington State, forgive me, not Washington, University of Washington, but Washington State University in Pullman. And so it's not a long trip. People say, well, he went out of state, and he didn't. It was 8 miles, 8 or 10 miles from campus to campus. And it's circumstantial, but how do you explain that in that specific area at that particular time was that phone pinging off of the towers in that area? And I think that that's one of the areas that they're really going to exploit at trial.
Do you think that he thought over state lines would be more confusing, or?
That's interesting because, he'd only been there, Lindsay, for one semester. One semester on the journey of a PhD, and a PhD takes a long time. He had come from Pennsylvania. And, some of the finest schools in the nation are in that Northeast corridor that study criminology. Nothing against Washington State, but where in the hell are you going to travel thousands of miles to go get a PhD at Washington State when you could have done it even closer to home in the Northeastern corridor? I think many people are wanting to know why Washington State, because it was immediately adjacent to the University of Idaho. Did he know, and here's a chilling thought, did he know these young women prior to him ever leaving Pennsylvania? Had he been in contact with them? Had he seen them on social media? Was that the motivation for him to go to Washington State? And right now there's a lot of unanswered questions. As an investigator, I want to know things like, what other universities did he apply to? Who wrote him letters of recommendation? Those are salient questions. I want to try to understand that dynamic, because he'd only been there one semester. And for folks that don't know what it's like to be in a PhD program, it's you're living as a servant at that point in time. It's like an indentured servitude, and you kind of progress through it after a number of years. You're doing research, but you're teaching classes for the faculty members. You have to study really hard. You have to live almost this monastic existence where you're totally focused on your work. He's out riding around an adjacent university campus. He's getting apparently in disagreements with people that are on faculty. You don't do that because you're at this level and they're at this level. Students didn't like him, allegedly what they're saying, that he was working as a teaching assistant in those classes. So there's a lot of stuff that'll eventually come out at trial. It's very confusing right now, though. But I think that some of this is going to rest in the forensic evidence and what we find out as after everything is revealed.
That was really interesting. I think the next episode will talk about some of these cases.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me. And I'm sure that if you're not the person who's investigating it, your investigator hat and brain never turns off, right? You're just like, I want to know these things. Do you ever kind of get involved when you're sort of not supposed to get involved? Do you kind of make the phone call and say, well, have you asked this question? Have you looked at this? Or do you just kind of stay out of it?
It really is. First off, it's none of my business. And I could try to insert myself. It's kind of like raising somebody else's children. You look and you say, but it's there are professionals that are there to do it. Now I can analyze it and I can render my thoughts about it. Are there things that I would do different? Probably. Are there things that I might screw up? Yeah, probably. But, everybody has a different way of kind of slicing the pie, if you will. When you look at something, you try to break it down. You look at a crime scene. You look at the evidence, the potential for evidence. Where do you go to collect the evidence, and how do you go to collect the evidence? You think about Idaho, one of the big things right now is that they tore the house down. They tore this house down, and a lot of us thought,
Right.
well, what if you want to take the jury out there just so they can see it? Because look, everybody within the sound of our voices right now, wherever you live, whether it's an apartment or a mansion, it doesn't matter. You know what particular footsteps sound like in your own domicile. Okay. You know how the sound reverberates around. You appreciate all the little angles, the weirdo angles that you have in the house. You got a jury of people that are being told about this house, and the house is like centerpiece to all of this because it's so freaking weird. It's been added onto over years. It's got these weird angles. The staircase kind of curves back on itself. It's 3 stories. You can enter from a ground level that's on the top and at the second floor, and you can enter on the bottom floor as well into the same dwelling. And so many of us that are, forensics people, we think, well, why don't you just wait? Why do you have to keep it? And the only explanation that the university would offer, and they bought the property, was that it's a stain on the community, or it's a sad remembrance. Yeah, it might be, but what if one piece of evidence turns on that structure?
Bear witness.
And now it's gone.
Right.
And you can't go back and reclaim it. You can't unring the bell, as lawyers like to say. And so that's gone. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out as well.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Go ahead and follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And
Thank
we
you,
will
guys.
see you
Take care.
next week.
Bye.
Thank you, Joseph.
Bye, Joseph.
Bye.
Thank you.
Mwah.